L.A.P.D. Detective Mark Fuhrman cast a long shadow of reasonable doubt during the O.J. Simpson trial when recorded conversations between himself and aspiring screenwriter Laura Hart McKinny surfaced. The Fuhrman tapes, as they would come to be known, were a flagrant contradiction of the sworn testimony that Fuhrman had given earlier under cross-examination during the trial, that he had not, to his recollection, used the N-word in the past 10 years. In those tapes, Fuhrman not only used it, but described committing various acts of police brutality. An L.A. public defender's investigation later determined that he was exaggerating on the latter point. The ninth and penultimate episode of FX's The People v. O.J. Simpson is devoted to the tapes, which Johnnie Cochran and his defense team would use to say that Fuhrman was not only a racist, but a racist who could have planted evidence to frame O.J. Simpson. Cochran called Fuhrman a lying, perjuring genocidal racist. Even prosecutor Marcia Clark closed her argument asking, "Is he a racist? Yes. Is he the worst L.A.P.D. has to offer? Yes. So how is the man who emerged as the most controversial figure of the trial, second perhaps only to O.J. Simpson himself, doing pretty well, actually?" What happened to Mark Fuhrman after the trial? Right afterwards, Fuhrman was charged with perjury, to which he pleaded no contest, received 3 years probation, and paid a $200 fine. It was then expunged from his record. He retired during the trial, and like many of the major figures involved, wrote a book about his experiences, Murder in Brentwood, published by Regnery in 1997, shot up to the top of the New York Times bestseller list, and positions Fuhrman as a victim of America's racial inequities. In the preface, the publisher Alfred S. Regnery writes, "It became apparent that somebody would have to be sacrificed, and the way he would be sacrificed would be to exploit racial conflict. Did he perjure himself?" In the exchange between defense attorney F. Lee Bailey and Fuhrman, Bailey had asked if he had used the N-word in the past 10 years, to which Fuhrman replied, "Not that I recall, no." Quote, in his book he explains that he was referring to the habitual use in the course of a lifetime, rather than particular instances. Whether this is perjury depends somewhat on whether you consider this issue materially relevant to the case. Perjury isn't simply telling an untruth on the witness stand, lying about your age isn't perjury unless the case were about retirement benefits, for instance. Therefore the perjury depends on whether you see Fuhrman's use of the word as materially relevant to the murder trial. What does he think of Johnnie Cochran? Obviously he isn't a fan of the man who dragged him throughout the trial. Johnnie Cochran has been playing the race card for much of his professional life, writes Fuhrman in Murder in Brentwood. Was Johnnie Cochran really concerned with racism, or just money? Quote, in fact, he thinks that Cochran is a hypocrite for going after him for using a racial slur when he apparently uses it. Johnnie Cochran deems the N-word as a term of affection. He writes, "What's Fuhrman doing now?" After the success of Murder in Brentwood, Fuhrman would embark on a true crime spree, writing Murder in Greenwich, Murder in Spokane, and a number of others. His last book was 2009's The Murder Business. He then became a TV and radio personality with his own talk radio show, It's All About Crime with Mark Fuhrman, and then, The Mark Fuhrman Show, ? He is, now, a forensic and crime scene expert for Fox News. What kind of commenting does he do? Well, for one, he came on as an expert for the Michael Brown murder, saying that Darren Wilson almost lost consciousness in a struggle that ended when he shot Brown 6 times. In that video, Fuhrman also suggests that a cut Brown has on his finger could be the result of Brown trying to take Wilson's gun. I am wondering if that could have possibly been caused by grabbing the weapon. He tells Megyn Kelly, it's a possibility, ? Watch the